So yeah, you don't have to look in the lens or anything like that. Actually,
Okay.
one time you do look in the lens, which is right now, is just if you can just introduce yourself to the camera.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Eisenman. I'm an English teacher at Bethel High School, and I teach seniors in a digital English class.
Excellent. Okay. So we'll start off here. So we want to understand the decisions you made in planning for this lesson and how it fits into this unit and year. So the first question under this section is, how does this lesson connect to and build on students' prior knowledge and skills? What was taught before this lesson, and what will come after it? Discuss the sequence of lessons that surround this one lesson.
So this lesson was focused on soliloquies, and soliloquies are something that we've been studying throughout the unit of Hamlet. I started off the Hamlet unit by taking soliloquies out of the text, and the kids had an exercise where they had to use the OED and do an explication on the soliloquies out of context. So this is just, building on that whole soliloquy project, and I just wanted to show how soliloquies are used to show the mental state and the emotional state of characters in the play. So it's part of Hamlet, and it is really, the soliloquies are really the focus of most of the planning for the unit of Hamlet.
Excellent. I'm going to catch that door really quick.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So is the text used in this lesson part of a sequence of texts designed to build skills and knowledge? If so, please give example of other texts that form the sequence.
Well, this particular text was a soliloquy from Hamlet. So we are studying Hamlet, the play Hamlet. We're studying the play in its entirety. So we have been looking at soliloquies in the beginning of the play. This is the middle of the play. We'll be looking at soliloquies at the end of the play as well. But really, the center text is Hamlet.
Excellent. All right, so talk about the standards targeted in this lesson.
The standards that I was focusing on are the reading standards for craft and structure. Standard number 4 is determining the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in the text, including figurative and connotative meaning, analyzing the impact of specific words, and how it keeps a piece fresh and engaging and adds to its aesthetic beauty. So, with this particular exercise, I wanted students to really delve into the soliloquy. I wanted them to be, looking at particular words, using the Oxford English Dictionary to kind of help them interpret it and understand the connotative and denotative meanings of the words. And I also wanted them to understand the shifts and the punctuation, the transitions, to see how the first part of the soliloquy is very different from the last part of the soliloquy. So that whole idea of craft and structure went into the planning for this piece.
Excellent. Excellent. Which of the core action indicators do you think this lesson best exemplifies?
I think the core action number 1 definitely goes hand in hand with this lesson. And that just has to do with having a piece of text that is, complex enough for a 12th grader. And obviously Shakespeare, I think, is complex enough for seniors in high school. So I think it meets that level of core action number 1.
Excellent. All right, new section here. So we are interested in how the shifts required by the CCSS are being incorporated into your instruction. So discuss how this lesson illustrates and shifts Discuss how this lesson illustrates the shifts required by the CCSS.
Well, I think in the past, my focus was on them understanding the meaning of a particular passage or soliloquy, whereas now I really want them to understand the beauty of particular words and phrases and punctuation, syntax, etc. So it's definitely more almost like surgery on the soliloquy. Where in the past we kind of did that, but it wasn't really the focus, whereas right now with my planning, the focus is on understanding the beauty of the way that these particular soliloquies are crafted. And not only that do they, are they a window into Hamlet's state of mind, but just in and of itself, there is an aesthetic beauty to the craft of these words together on a page. So.
Excellent. Excuse me. How do you teach the content of this lesson or this text prior to the CCSS? What is the same and what is different?
So I think previously it was more of a general look at the soliloquies and making sure that kids understood kind of the plot points that were associated with the soliloquies, whereas now it's definitely more into the craft of the construction of these soliloquies. So much more emphasis and much more work with the Oxford English Dictionary. We use that quite a lot in class. You may have noticed that the kids had their iPads open to the OED and were constantly referring to it. And that's something that we are definitely doing this year, which is a little bit different from what we did in the past.
Excellent. All right, another section. Student engagement is critical to the work of the CCSS. We want to understand how you ensure that all students have the opportunity to productively engage in the work of the lesson. How did or do you support all students in working with grade level text? Do you provide scaffolding for students below grade level so they can read grade level text? How do you create opportunities for students who are advanced to engage more deeply with grade level or above grade level text?
Well, I think Shakespeare is inherently a conundrum for English teachers because students always come up and say, I don't understand it, it's not English. So it's a challenge in and of itself. I think with this particular lesson, I wanted to create an activity that all students could participate in. And I think the way that they did the interpolation and the interruptions were different. So some of them were humorous, some of them were more serious. It depended on how they wanted to interact with the text. I gave them an exemplar in the beginning. I gave them an example. I kind of scaffolded that a little bit for them. I paired them up in a way that they'd be comfortable with the person that they're working with, but usually it was, maybe a student who struggles a little bit with a student who has more control over the Shakespearean language. And then, I was popping around and trying to help students as they could. And there was also the opportunity to perform. So there were a lot of different opportunities to engage with the text on a variety of different levels with this piece.
Perfect. How do you know the students were able to successfully respond to the text-dependent questions and tasks with precision? Do students acquire the literary skills addressed in the lesson? What did you do for the students who did not acquire the literacy skills addressed in this lesson?
I think there were a couple groups that were struggling at particular times, so I definitely made time to go out and speak to them and help them along, in particular points. So I was constantly checking on them throughout the lesson. On top of that, we had the general group discussion, and then at the end, I did ask them to, write a response so that I know that, it's just one more formative assessment for me to know that they really understood what was going on in the class.
Excellent. Which behaviors from Core Action 3 did the students best exemplify in this lesson? What actions have you taken as a teacher to make that happen?
All right, can you give me a minute
Sure.
to get those core action
I'm going to cut the
3?
camera. Okay.
I think that the letter C in that, students use evidence to build on each other's observations or insights during discussion or collaboration, was exemplified in that lesson. I think that students, by being paired up, they had to, first of all, understand the text. They had to have a conversation about, well, what does this word mean? And then what are some different connotations to that? And then how would Horatio respond to that particular word? So it was a constant conversation of back and forth of those ideas. And I think, after kind of doing the exercise and the performance, and then coming back to a whole group discussion and really annotating the text together as a class, they were able to build on some of the ideas and some of the conversations that they were having in pairs. So that's what I think happened.
Cool. All right, so the last section here. Great instructors are continuously learning. We want to understand what you celebrated in this lesson and what you would improve on. Reflecting on the lesson, what worked particularly well and what might you do differently?
I think the back and forth of the exercise itself and pairing up, using the OED, annotating the text, and then having that extra piece to the annotation, the interruptions, worked well. I think kids have a lot of experience with annotations, and sometimes you just kind of have to change things up a little bit. So it was a nice change, and it's something that I'll probably do in the future. Obviously I would have liked more kids to perform it. I think they were a little afraid of the cameras, of getting up and, performing for the class. I think in that context, just for the performance aspect of it, you have to really build a community of trust. And, so that's something that we are continually working on in class. So I would like to see them perform more.
Excellent. Were there any surprises or unexpected student behaviors or reactions?
Yeah. When my 2 football players told me that they had to leave in the middle of class without letting me know that was going to happen.
Sort of makes us stuff up there. Anything that sort of impressed you or kind of it was surprising throughout the lesson?
I really enjoyed the one of the performances with John Murray and Ryan, where they were being snarky, where they had Horatio with sarcasm, and I enjoyed that. I thought that was a fun way to engage with the text. So.
Excellent. Well, you, my friend, are done.
Okay.
Very good.